All right, welcome to the weekly Zoom call. We've got Denny on here and Lorena's on here, Haley, David, Chris, and Connor. And I would assume Connor's fiance, Sydney, is on here, I would assume as well. But anyway, friends, tonight's overall main number one topic is going to be on reverse dieting, which we'll get into here just shortly. A couple little housekeeping notes or things that I just want to put on everybody's radar. First off, I did go ahead and upgrade my Zoom, so we can go over 40 minutes. As I was telling everybody that was on here prior to me recording, I don't intend on going over the 40-minute time limit. I think that's a pretty good window. I mean, I could sit here and talk on different topics for 2 hours, but I don't think anybody really wants to listen to that. So we'll try to keep it capped at 40. But again, if we get, if we're at the 38-minute mark and we're right in the middle of a good question or a good something, we'll finish that up and have a little bit of leeway on that, so we're not so rushed. And at least then I can say bye to people instead of it just cutting me off and I just had to wave at everybody. So that's thing number one. Thing number two, this one I'm super excited about. This has been, honestly, I've been wanting to do this for the past couple years. I still need to find out from Caleb, the owner of Body Shop, if this is going to be okay. But right now I would like to set up, and Denny, Lorena, sorry, you guys can't make this unless you want to fly all the way in for it or drive up, but a TLF community lift party. So this would be pretty much, I would set up a time, whether it be like 10 to noon or noon to 2 on Sunday, November 6th, I believe is what that date is. So that gives us like a month, maybe, 5 weeks to kind of plan ahead for that. So I'll be kind of posting a lot more information on this. Again, I need to find out for sure from Caleb if that's all right, and kind of what that's going to look like. But right now, there's a couple of different thoughts I have in mind with that. Number one, I think it'd be great, since this is a good community of people of like-minded, directions and goals and things of that nature. So I would love to get everybody together. On top of that, if depending on the turnout that we have and the people that sign up, I don't intend on this being a charging thing, like you're going to be able to come for free, and I'll just pay for your day pass or whatever the case is going to be at the gym, depending on what Caleb says with that. But on top of that, I think this would be an awesome opportunity. I'm thinking on top of that, I might be able to link up with a photographer or a videographer just to kind of capture the event. I think that'd be a lot of fun, especially because I would love to eventually be able to do this, once a quarter or at least once every 6 months or so. And then I also intend on doing some giveaways. I've recently kind of connected with a couple of different companies, so I won't really delve into what those look like at the moment, but I would like to do some giveaways to that as well, and just show my appreciation for everybody's hard work. And also, I've only met a handful of clients, maybe 10 or 20% in person before. So it'd be a good opportunity for, put a face to the name, put a conversation to the progress pictures and things like that into our weekly check-in. So I'm really excited for that. And I intend on, once I get the details nailed down on that, I intend to be sharing a lot of information about that. And then in anticipation for that, one of these next Zoom calls, possibly this coming week, or maybe, the week or two before we do that lift party, do a kind of a meet and greet on here. So instead of, me picking a topic, maybe just a short little introduction thing. Another thing, we have a lot of entrepreneurs in here, or people that, run businesses and things like that I would love to have you guys all connect. I mean, I'm in a couple different entrepreneur groups that always helps. And I mean, since we're all moving in the same direction when it comes to our health, I like for that to translate over into what you're doing with your guys' lives as well. So I think it'd be a good opportunity to connect on here, and then same thing with that lift party. So again, more details to come on that. I'm really pumped about it, if you can't tell. So yeah, I'll share more info on that. And maybe, throughout some different times, do a quick poll on, what times will work that day. Since I said, Sunday, November 6th, obviously I looked into what time the Chiefs game is that day, and it's not until 7 p.m. I think it is a home game though. So in anticipation for that, if people wanted to come to this, but then they wanted to get to tailgating, at noon or whatever the time you would want to do it for the Chiefs game, we might do maybe an earlier morning one, like 9 to 11 or 10 to 12. So anyway, just tossing that stuff out there. Let's go ahead and get on into reverse dieting. When to do it, why to do it, how to do it, all that key important stuff. First off, anybody here have any experience with reverse dieting? I know David for sure has. I know Dexter for sure has. Do you guys want to share anything at the moment off the top of your head? And if not, I'll dive in myself.
Just more or less, I just couldn't be happier to have more food, so I can't complain too much.
Hell yeah. Never a problem with that. Thanks for sharing that, David. Dexter, I would assume you would feel the same way.
Yeah, same what he said, and it just worked out great for me. I really saw like how I could get back to eating more calories without it affecting my weight too much. So it was really a cool process to learn about and go through.
Yeah. Well, and especially, following up a restrictive phase, like a cut phase. I mean, no matter how you do it, how you shape it, how you look at it, whenever you're in a deficit and you're trying to, get rid of body fat, you've got to be more restrictive. I mean, it's been popular in the past, 10, 15 years on social media. Oh, eat this and lose weight, eat this and lose weight. And yeah, if you're in a calorie deficit, that might work for you. That doesn't always mean that your underlying health is going to be necessarily on point. You can get 100 grams of carbs in from just pure sugar. That doesn't mean you got any healthy nutrients out of that. So yeah, you can fit a lot of things into your macros, but ultimately when it comes down to it, you got to be a little more restrictive if you want to get to a certain body composition or look or weight or whatever the case is. And there's no way around that. We live in a society that we want a quick fix. We want all the hacks. We want all the simple fix, the pills to make it all go away. And it just doesn't happen like that. No matter who you are, no matter where you're from, no matter your body type or anything of that nature, there's got to be a hard work done to be able to get to that point of whatever your physique that you want to get to. But the flip side to that, though, and this is the part, and this is the reason why, 95% of diets fail after, I think, 2 or 3 years. I forgot all the other stats too. I think it's like 80%, 90%, 95% of diets fail. And people that lost, X amount of weight, they gain it all back within a couple of years. And that is because none of these fad diets out there, none of these quick fix, 8-week weight loss things, they work because you're in a deficit, but they're not teaching you sustainable habits. Keto is a good example of that. Some people can do it and they love that and they love that kind of food and they can stay on that for a lifetime. I know a handful of people that can do that, but most people, you want carbs. You don't want to be carbless the rest of your life. So again, it's not necessarily sustainable, and you can go that route for keto. And there's a time, there's a place, especially if you have, insulin resistance, high blood glucose, things of that nature. Like there's a time and there's a place where it really, really makes sense. And some people, they just burn fat better than they do carbohydrates. But again, after that kind of a diet is done, you've got to be able to reverse out of that. You've got to be able to rebound the correct way. And the reason why most of those diets fail is because they didn't learn sustainable habits. They didn't learn a sustainable way of eating. And that's, ultimately that's why we're all here. That's why I have Thrive Alliance Fitness, is because, if I just wanted to throw a quick fix at you, we would undereat and you would lose weight, but then number one, you'd hate it and you wouldn't be able to stick to that long. And as soon as you finished your 8-week cut, you'd go right back to old habits and you'd gain all that weight back and probably then some, because your system, your digestive system, your metabolism, your thyroid hormones, everything else are going to start down regulating when you're in a very extensive cut like that, and stress goes up and everything else. So then you gain that weight back super, super fast. So that's obviously what we want to avoid here. So there's essentially 3 phases to anybody, regardless who you are, where you are in your journey and things of that nature. Obviously, the length of time, the depth in which we have to go into each of these phases are going to vary person to person. But ultimately, there are 3 phases that everybody goes through, and a lot of people don't do these 3 phases. Cutting is number 1. We all know that one. Eat less, train more is always kind of what the stigma is, or the idea is for a lot of people. And that does work for some people, obviously, but it's a means to an ends though. So then we get you down to your weight that you want to get to. We get you to the body composition or wherever it is you feel happy with, that you feel proud with, or maybe we've just done it for 6 to 12 months, and it's like, we got to get you out of deficit. We got to get your metabolism revved back up. We got to get your hormones back in check. So at some point, you've got to reverse diet. And I will say the hardest part of a reverse diet is you've got to reshape what your mindset is. You got to reshape kind of what your goals are during this time. So when you're cutting, it's easy. You want to see the scale go down. You want to see the inches on your body go down. You want to see your ab outline, or you want to see more, vascularity. Like there's a lot of indications that, hey, we're moving in the right direction when you're cutting. When you're reverse dieting, it's different though. Your body's not going to change a whole lot, at least not the outer shell of it. You're not going to see huge changes. Now, some people, whenever reverse dieting, because they're still technically in a calorie deficit, because we're not going to go from where you ended your cut all the way back up to what your maintenance calories were, because Your metabolism is down here. You can't handle all that extra food. So we gradually titrate it back up to where your maintenance calories would be, and then some. Dexter, I forgot exactly what we went from your last cut to your last, the end of your reverse diet before you just did this little mini cut phase. But I would guess, just off the top of my head, we probably went from a 2,000 calorie end of your cut all the way up to 4,000 plus calories. And I'm pretty sure your weight has stayed right around that 162 mark, give or take, throughout the entire time. And that's because those of you who don't know, I've talked about Dexter on here before. He also, every single time he checks in, he says the week that he's on. And he just surpassed his 100-week check-in in a row. I don't think he missed one in the 100 straight weeks, regardless the time of year. So I'm not going to go into a tangent and bragging about Dexter on that, but I will say this, just pertaining to that. The dude didn't have, amazing weeks every single week. Nobody can do that. Nobody can be 100 weeks straight, spot on, but he didn't miss a check-in. He was accountable. The bad weeks, he talked about his bad weeks. The good weeks, he said, hey, crushed it this week, executed everything you told me to. Boom, that's an easy check-in right there. If he struggled with anything, we talk about it. I think this last check-in, he had a couple of things that he wanted, questions answered or whatever the case is. And so we obviously handled that, but got a little bit off topic there. So anyway, back to it. After our cut, we want to titrate things up and start gradually reverse dieting. And the hard part with this is that you're not going to see those weekly changes, but you got to change what your expectation is. So we step on the scale still, and we want to make sure that weight is not increasing alongside our food increasing. So, we bump up, everybody's a little bit different. And depending on how our systems all work and your body's response to it, we add 10 or 15 grams of carbs per week, or we add 5 grams of fat. Usually it's one or the other. Sometimes it might be like 5 and 5 or 10 and 5 or something like that. But regardless, we start just titrating things up gradually. If your fats were super low by the end of that cut, I'm probably going to start with fats because I want to start pumping up your hormone levels again and getting those things back in check, since those probably downregulated during that cut phase. So we might start with fats. A lot of people, they want carbs back in sooner than possible. So we add that stuff in. Now, if the problem with this though, is that as soon as you flip that switch, I'm not cutting anymore. I'm not trying to lose weight anymore, even though you might ideally want to lose more weight, but that's not our goal anymore at this exact point. So then it's easy for you to say, well, shit, Marcus said I could have 10 grams of carbs. That's, easy thing to add with that is like a rice cake or a quarter cup of rice, something like that. But then it's easy to be like, well, I can already eat a little bit more, so I might as well have this little Reese's cup, or I might have this extra rice cake. And now I had 2 instead of 1. Well, the problem with that is that if we do this too quick, you're going to see that weight creep up a little bit. And that's negating the whole reason why we're doing this reverse diet. We want to maintain that weight. If you get down to 160 or you get down to 200 pounds, whatever that number is, we want to hold that steady as possible. And then gradually continue to bumping up those foods. David, not to call you out about this, but this is a great example because I've done the same thing. And most people do this when they first start a reverse diet too, is you get a little bit loose. You have an extra little cheat. You eat, instead of the 10 grams of carbs, you eat 10 or 25 grams of carbs extra on top of that 10 grams I added. And boom, then we see your weight crept up a little because instead of increasing by 50 calories this week, you increase by 100 to 150 calories each day this week. And there goes that little bit of a weight gain. Now, that's not fat gain if you just do that one week. Usually that's just a little bit of water retention and things like that from that. But so ultimately, that's why we still check in. That's why we're still being really meticulous with this. So it's called the diet after the diet, is this reverse diet. You still want to be eating a lot of the same foods you were eating, if not the exact same foods as you were during that cut, because what got us there is what we want to keep on doing. But as we gradually get those calories up, then you're going to have more and more freedom. So like with David, when I add 10 grams of carbs, that's not a huge deal. It's nice to have an extra rice cake, but you're like, that didn't fill me up. I'm still hungry. And rightfully so. I'm the same way with that. So 10 grams of carbs doesn't seem like a whole lot this week. And you're like, okay, that's not a big deal. The weight's staying the same. I'm not really making a whole lot of progress, but you really are. And if you amplify that, if you can stay disciplined with this diet after the diet, then what happens is you maximize that by 10 weeks. Okay, well, 10 weeks and we added 10 grams of carbs each week. Now, instead of eating 100 grams of carbs a day like you were at the end of your cut, now you're eating 200 grams of carbs, literally double the amount of carbs in just about a 2.5 month span. So again, it's a gradual thing, but once you put in that little bit extra work for those 2 months, now you're going to eat double the carbs or double the fat or whatever the case is. And so now your calories are higher. And if it's hard to fit in the things you really want to fit into 100 grams of carbs, well, if I told you got to double your carbs over the course of that time, now you get to fit in more and more things that you want to have. For me personally, I just finished my competition prep. What was it? 3 weeks ago, I think at this point. Now, one thing that's going to be a factor with this reverse diet is how long were you in a deficit? Some friends here, you've been trying to actively lose weight for 10 years, for a decade. You've been majority of that 10 years, you've been in a deficit saying, oh, I need to lose weight. I need to lose weight. I need to lose weight. So you constantly undereat. Well, your systems are all downregulated. Your metabolism is bottomed out. Your thyroid is probably sluggish. Your sex hormones are out of whack because you're constantly undereating. And then you're like, well, shit, I went out 2 times this week and had, a couple of cheat meals out or whatever the case is, or we had a birthday party. And now I'm up 5 or 10 pounds and I can't get that weight back off. Yeah, because your metabolism was not used to that surplus of calories. It was down regulated. And then you threw on this surplus. So then what do? You show back up on Monday and you take away all your calories again and you do excessive cardio. And all you did was put that metabolism and your hormones in a worse spot. And you're just falling into that yo-yo dieting mentality, which is not good on any level at all. And it does not work. I understand the thought behind it, but it just doesn't work. So we got to break those habits if that is part of your habits. But so again, coming back to reverse diet, we gradually add that stuff in and you gradually have more and more freedom. So after my show, I only did a 7-week cut. Now, technically, I actually started a cut back in April so I could look good for Mexico and pull off a little bit of body fat. So I think I lost about 7-8 pounds for that. Looked good, felt good, went to Mexico, came back, weighed about the same because I was still eating about 3,000 to 3,500 calories before I went to Mexico. So all inclusive, I focused on protein 2 of those meals. The other meals, I ate whatever I wanted to essentially, drank what I wanted to, which is usually not a whole lot. I think I only had one day there where I actually went kind of overboard on that. But again, my metabolism was used to 3,500 calories. So I go into an all-inclusive for 4 days. And I didn't gain anything because, again, my metabolism is used to a lot of food, thankfully, to a proper reverse diet and maintenance phase that I did. So I'm in that cut. Then when we come back and I got locked back in, just got consistent right after that trip to Mexico in anticipation for, number one, a photo shoot, which didn't end up happening, but then our, 2-year delayed honeymoon over to Italy. So then I go there, still eating about 3,000 calories before I got there. And then my obviously diet was completely out the window. I didn't overeat. It's hard to do that. I mean, it's easy to do that, but over there, the food's just a lot healthier. But I was under eating on protein massively. I was probably getting anywhere from 50 to 100 grams of protein. I'm used to 250 to 300 grams of protein, especially during comp prep. So anywho, I ended up doing that 7-week prep though. And since that was a short stretch we had to go, and because my systems were already starting to downregulate because of those mini cuts that I was doing, I did 7 weeks and I had to get down about 1,700 calories for that show. That's the lowest I've ever probably ate ever since I was like a little kid. Because since then I've always been trying to put on weight and stuff like that or reverse dieting. So I get down to 1,700 calories the week after the show. I wasn't sure if I was going to do the next show or not because I was anticipating doing one in October 29th, which I ended up deciding later on that week not to. But so what did I do after the show? I enjoyed myself on Saturday and Sunday, and then Monday morning came and I locked right back into the exact same diet that I was on the prior week. I think I increased carbs by just a little bit. And then each week since then, I've been able to increase more and more. So now my reverse diet, because I was only in a deficit, really hard deficit for about 7 weeks, I'm able to go faster with my reverse diet. My metabolism is not fully down regulated like it would have been. I'm talking funny. If I had been cutting intensely like that for 16 or 24 weeks, I would need a much slower, longer reverse diet, the longer and deeper I go into this cut. But since it was a short one, I was able to titrate things up a lot quicker. So now, instead of eating 1,700 calories, I'm already back up to about 2,700 calories. And on leg days, I'm eating about 3,300 calories. So I'm quickly getting back up there. In my weight, I think I'm 2 pounds above stage weight. So I think I was like 6% body fat probably on stage. So I'm still right around 6.5% body fat right now. I'm eating a little bit more food. But the average person, though, majority of you guys here, what we would do with it is not increase as fast as I just did, but take it slower and increase those carbs and those fats in a slower manner and get them up high. So, it's always funny, especially with females. I'll say, hey, you're used to eating 1,300 to 1,500 calories. My eventual long-term goal with you, once we get you to your goal weight, your goal look and everything like that, is I want you, instead of eating 1,500 calories, I want you to be up to 2,000 or to 2,500 calories. And as soon as I say that to those same people, because they've probably been in a habitual deficit trying to lose weight for the past, 10 to 20 years, as they're like, I can't eat 2,000 or 2,500 calories. Well, let me show you how to do this. And so then some of those same people, they get to eat a lot more food with this. But again, you've got to be really patient with it and be just as focused as you were during the cut phase, because it's easier to lose that focus when you're not trying to see the weight go down on the scale. Again, that might happen, but that's not going to be the goal during a reverse diet. So again, if it's, one thing I like to say to a client is, how happy would you be if I said that you could weigh the exact same today, but eat double the amount of food? Well, that's essentially what the reverse diet is going to bring us. And then again, the higher those calories get, the higher those macros, your carbs and fats get, now you have more and more room. So, hey, I want some olive oil and some toast with dinner tonight. Perfect. You've got the room in it. So plan that ahead. And this is actually where it's really fun to start tracking your macros, because, you should be doing this kind of anyway, even during a cut phase. But I like to look at, what I did as soon as that prep was done. I was like, what have I been really missing? What would I like to add back in? Not something that's super unhealthy, but what's something I can consistently eat that I miss? Well, prior to, getting into my cut phase, my comp prep, I was eating this Sam's Club Members Mark granola, like honey almond granola or something like that. I think it's like 45 grams of carbs per serving, like 8 grams of fat or something like that. So I was like, I want that. So I logged that first. And I say, okay, this is what's going to be my bedtime meal at 8:30, 9 o'clock. This is what I want to eat when I'm watching Game of Thrones or House of Dragons, whatever the new one is, or whatever it is that I'm watching. That's what I want my meal to be during that show. So then I have that to look forward to. So even if I'm still in a deficit kind of during the day and I'm still not eating all the food I want to be eating, I have this one exciting meal that I'm looking forward to sit down with Nicole and watch our show and eat this. So I log that first and I work backwards. Well, so I added some carbs. So then I just look at my other carbs during the day. Like I said, I had about 8 grams of fat. So I look at my other fat sources during the day and see what can I toggle and move around to allow me to eat this at night. And now, like I said, my leg days, which I had a leg day today. So now on my leg days, I get 350 grams of carbs. So I have a lot more wiggle room. If I wanted to, I could get some Krusty's pancake mix and have some tasty blueberry pancakes tonight if I would really want to. I'm not going to, because I'm going to stick to a healthier choice like my rice and black beans or pinto beans and some chicken, maybe a little bit of coconut oil. And I'm going to have that granola and maybe some rice cakes and some peanut butter on top of that. But this is all planned out and methodical, and I'm taking my time kind of getting up there. So then my eventual goal, now I do have a coach. So he helped me out with this, the comp prep. I've done my own before, but I like learning different methods and how to do it. This is actually my first time having a coach for my off season to see, what I can pack on, but I'm curious to see how he's going to do things. If I was doing my own reverse diet and my own off season with it though, I want to get my food up to a point that is sustainable. I can eat all that food. It's not too much of a chore to eat that much food, and then maintain that for a while. So that might be about 3,500 calories, might be 37 to 3,800 calories for myself. But I maintain that for a while. And then that gives me the freedom to say, okay, do I want to do another cut? Maybe I get those calories up, maintain that until March, and then do a little mini cut. Because obviously with those higher calories, I might gain a little bit. I might gain a pound or two here or there. If I'm more loose with extra cheat meals a week, which I might be a little bit, because I know how to adjust things. It might creep up a little bit higher than that. But again, I'm going to be lifting more. I'm going to be lifting heavier, and I'm okay with a little bit of extra fat gain. Again, being 6% body fat year round is not healthy for me anyway. So getting back up to 10 or 12% is totally fine. But so then ultimately I have, once I get my calories up that high, I have a lot of wiggle room. I have a lot of different routes I can go with it. I can stay that high, and that I have plenty of food freedom with it. I can go into a mini cut, or if I'm like, hey, I'm ready to put on some size. I don't care if I gain a little bit of fat with this, but I want to try to, go from 175 up to 185 or 190, maybe even 195, who knows? So, okay, I'm going to start increasing this. So then at that point, if I start at 3,500 calories, now I know, okay, this is how I can start bumping that up. So then it just gives you that freedom to eat what you want during that maintenance phase. And you're finding that balance with it. You still should be maintaining staple foods, which we talk about on here, maintaining, healthy amounts of fiber and all the micronutrients. I'm not subbing out all my carbs for pancakes. I'm eating a lot of fruit. I'm eating a lot of, high fiber type foods and veggies and things like that. So I'm still getting all my main staple foods in, but it gives me more room for those fun foods. And so we've kind of talked about, the cutting phase. We all know what that is. The reverse diet phase. And then the next phase obviously is maintenance phase. And then you just tread water, you just maintain. And just, again, you got to have your staples down, your control the controllable still. We're still making sure that sleep is on point. We're making sure our recovery is on point. We're training hard in the gym, using that extra food that we're eating to get more activity in through the day and just feel better overall. Especially if we're checking lab work and we're seeing that things are out of whack, feeding you up is usually going to be a good thing. The only time that we might want to be careful with that or be careful with what we're adding is if it's blood glucose or, insulin. If those things are off the charts, then we might want to stay away from adding too many carbs in there. But again, usually, especially if it's a hormone situation, feeding you up is going to be the best thing to do. But anyway, I'll go ahead and pause real quick because I know I just yammered on for a few minutes there. Anybody have anything they want to add to that? Your experience with reverse dieting, what have you seen that's benefited you, that you've enjoyed with this, or any questions about it?
Hey, Marcus, this is Denny.
Yeah.
I'll take a shot at it because the silence is killing me.
I love it. I just live in the silence now. I'll just wait till somebody gets uncomfortable.
Yeah, listen, right? So as a novice, one of the things, I'm going to go on camera, make it a little bit more formal, but
Hey, what up, Denny?
yeah, hey, so for me, right, you say things like, I had X grams, right, of fat or carbs or protein or whatever. And I'm still learning, right? This is all brand new to me, right? This is like second week.
2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So I want to know so I can better understand what you're talking about with reverse dieting and how many or how many calories I should actually have, right? I'm 6'3", I weighed in at 244. I think I dropped 4 pounds in the first week. I'm excited to kind of weigh in and check in tomorrow, but
Good.
I don't know what I'm staring at when I look at, I see my calories. You got me on like a 2180 count, right? And I'm trying to mark each one of those and I'm looking at it right here. So forgive me, but when I look at these things as far as macros that talk about my carbs, my fat, my protein, it's only showing me in percentages. So I don't know.
Are you looking at MyFitnessPal?
Yeah, MyFitnessPal.
Okay. Here, let me pull this up real quick so I can look exactly what you're looking at.
So if it's something else I need to be looking at.
Yeah, I was going to say, so there's a couple different things you can look at with this. So here's my screen. So go to your food diary screen. I don't know if you can see this at all.
Yep, I got it. Yep.
All right. So then scroll down that screen all the way down to the very bottom, and you should see a big blue bar that says complete diary. Below that, you see a nutrition tab and a notes tab. Click on the nutrition tab.
Yep.
Okay, so what you're looking at is, show me your screen real quick.
No.
It's really bright right now.
Yeah, angle it the other way.
Hang on.
So what are you on right now? That's MyFitnessPal, right?
Yeah, MyFitnessPal. There, is that better?
Okay.
There.
I'm trying to figure out.
Oh, hang on. It just went to the hello. I don't want to start a month free trial.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say that doesn't look like what I thought.
Hang on. It automatically did its thing. That thing.
Okay, yes, perfect. All right, so right there at the top, you see that pie chart that says 43%, 35%, 22%.
Right.
Below that, you should see the teal color is carbohydrates. The purple color is fats, and the yellow is protein. So right there next to carbohydrates, fats, and protein, down below the pie chart, it should say the grams. So like right now, mine says 359 grams of carbohydrates.
Yeah.
So that's where you're going to see grams. What you can also do, and so then I see what you're saying, like in the pie chart, it shows you percentages. On the right side, it says like the total percentage and the goal percentage.
Yep.
At the very top of the screen, though, so you have selected the macros one. You can also click on nutrients, and that will show you, the side.
Yep, I got you.
And that shows you your total protein, and it shows you your goal protein. It shows you how many grams of protein you have left, which I'll come back to that in a second. And then it shows you carbohydrates, fiber, and sugar.
Okay, I'm with you. I see it now because 217, my fat grams, and my protein are all the 100% of the pie chart broken out by what percentages I should be consuming.
Yes.
Yep, perfect. And then I'll just match my meals to try and hit those gram numbers.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Now, ultimately, when it comes down to it, if you're following the diet plan and you're measuring all those foods and you're eating exactly what's on there, you're going to hit the macros anyway.
Okay.
Now, one of the reasons why we want to log these macros, though, is so that eventually you can start subbing foods in and out. Hey, I'm tired of chicken. Go, look at the different tools I've given you guys about, okay, I'm tired of chicken. What protein do I want to eat? Well, chicken's going to be a leaner protein, so you want to find another lean source.
Yep.
If you want to do a fattier source like salmon, like, a 90-10 or 85-15 ground beef or ground turkey, then that's going to be a little higher fat percentage, which is fine. But then you have to go look at your other fat sources. And so this, again, the reason why logging your macros is because you start learning the values of foods. You learn what has high fat, what has low fat, what has high carbs, what has low carbs, because all this comes into play with what it is that you're doing. Now, eventually, and I always want to say this, is that logging your macros, I don't want you guys having to log, I don't want you to have to log your macros 10 years from now.
Right.
Or 5 years from now. What it does, though, is that it gives you that practice. And then what it does is it allows you to intuitively start eating. You're starting to look at foods at a restaurant. If you're at his friend's house and they're making dinner, if Lorena makes some dinner, you can kind of eyeball it and be like, okay, this has roughly 50 grams of carbs. This has roughly 50 grams of fat, or whatever the case is. And you can kind of start identifying these things a little bit better. But yeah, so what you're doing right now seems perfect. And then, so again, just playing with those numbers in there. Part of that is making sure you're finding the right food entries, as we talked about on here before. MyFitnessPal has a downside because it's similar to Wikipedia. So you're going to find 1,000 different chicken breasts in there. So when you're searching for these foods, especially if it's a food that's on your diet plan, you just want to make sure when you click it, you put in, so if I put, 5 ounces of chicken, you put in 5 ounces of chicken on there to change your serving size and see what those numbers add up to. If it's within a gram or two of what I have put down, that's perfect.
Okay.
If it says, 5 ounces of cooked chicken breast has 20 grams of fat, that's wrong. If it says it has 0 grams of fat, that's probably wrong. If it has 20 grams of protein and 5 ounces of chicken, it's not going to be accurate. Sorry,
Okay.
I do that. My dog's outside right now, pissed off because I'm not letting him in. I've got one of those little windows in the basement right now, so he's just up there.
Let boss in, but let me bring the conversation back to, I think, the topic, which is the reverse dieting.
Yes, sir.
So me being new, I'm tracking to what the plan is. When would a reverse diet fit into my program or my journey?
That's a great question. So there's no necessarily time frame with this. It's just based off your biofeedback, how your body's responding, and ultimately what you're able to adhere to. So, some people, they're just saying, I can't do this cut anymore. I need more food. Okay, let's go ahead and start a reverse diet. You're telling me what I need to hear. Okay, let's start increasing your food. For you in particular, I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. I think usually what's going to happen is we're either going to reach your goals or we're going to reach to a point where everything is plateaued at what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, again, nobody here is stepping on stage. So I'm not going to take away all your fat and all your carbs and make you just miserable to try to get down 20 grams, 20 more pounds or 10 more, 5 more pounds.
I appreciate that.
Exactly. So, and I'm also, because I'm looking at this as a longevity thing that's not sustainable for somebody. Again, if we were stepping on stage, it'd be a different story, but we don't need to go to those extremes. It's not that worth it. The risk versus reward doesn't make any sense in that situation. So we would essentially keep on cutting until you either reach whatever goal that we have for you, you reach the body, the body composition, the weight, whatever the case is that we want to reach with it. And then we would start reverse dieting then. Or again, we reach a point where we plateaued, we've utilized different methods, different tools, whether it be carb cycling or whatever it is that might be, you might be able to adhere to that is going to help you kind of get there. And then eventually there gets to a point where, okay, we've used all the different tools. Nothing is really helping us pull off any more weight at this point. Let's start increasing calories. Another time that I kind of want to look at this as well, and the reason why I want people to kind of think long-term is, in order for me to know what I should be doing today and this month, I want to look ahead. Where do I want to be in 3 years? For me personally, I'm thinking comp prep. When is my next show going to be? That's probably going to be in about 3 or 4 years. So I'm really in no rush with this. Okay, so let's think a little bit shorter term. where do I want to be at next summer? Most of us want to look our best coming into the summertime. We're in shorts, we're in t-shirts, we're at the pool, we're at the beach, whatever the case is. And there's no reason, there's no harm in being a little bit vain and wanting to look good for that. There's nothing wrong with that. But so I'm thinking, okay, next summer I want to be doing X, Y, and Z, and I want to look however way I want to do it. So then, okay, where do I want to be at now? I also look at holidays are coming up. Me personally, I want to have some dietary freedom then. I want my calories to be a little bit higher so I can enjoy more of those holiday meals. Nicole's birthday's then. We're going to go on a small little trip at some point. And then just other basic family meals. And so I could easily go into that and be lower calories and be just fine and not gain any weight from it because I'll just make better choices. But ideally, I've been in comp prep and I want to improve or increase my dietary availability with it. So I'm personally trying to reverse diet into that. But again, that's where I'm at in my own journey at this moment. And, a lot of people like you guys, we're trying to shed some body fat right now. So that's what our main focus is. And, we will work in those cheat meals and that flexibility during the holidays, but it's a matter of if we can control 80% of the days, 90% of the days, you're going to still be able to reach your goals and have the balance to have fun with those times.
Yeah, perfect. That's a great share. And thanks for that insight. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. And that's a great question because it's always important that we kind of know the routes that we can possibly go versus being blind to it. And then me just throw something at you. And then you're like, where the hell did this come from? I didn't know this was a possibility. So that's also why I want to do these Zoom calls. And that's why, I put together that client success packet so you guys can all explore that. And you've at least heard of the terms. You've at least kind of read my different descriptions of it so that whenever I bring it up, it's not a total shock and surprise.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Good question, Denny. I appreciate it. And I think that probably helps out a lot of people, whether they're on here now or down the road. But anyway, friends, Denny, you got any more questions or Lorena about that?
I'm good.
Cool. Anybody else? Questions, comments, concerns about any of this?
Yo, I got a question.
Yep.
I'll try to figure out how to word this quickly. So say
we're not on a time schedule. Like we can go a few minutes over. It's fine.
Okay. So say I already went through the reverse dieting process. It's been several months or even a year or two, and I've been maintaining. And then, I've had that kind of caloric freedom to kind of eat what I want, but at the same time I'm being mindful of of my macros.
Yeah.
But I haven't been tracking and stuff. Like I don't know if you have, or will I get to a point where I might have to cut or restrict my diet again because I've been kind of playing it by
intuitively. You're just looking at food because at this point, like I said, you've checked in 100 straight weeks. You have a good understanding of what your normal meal should look like and how to kind of make adjustments and still kind of be within it. So you're honestly, Dexter, I don't even want to say this because I don't want to lose your business. I don't want you to lose your check-ins, but you're at a point where you could go out and do this on your own. I honestly believe that because you've done it long enough, been so consistent long enough that you kind of understand, like, this is how we cut, this is how we reverse diet, this is how we maintain. I think you've been through the cycle of all those things a handful of times. And the good thing with you is that every time we've cut down, we get a little bit leaner. Every time we put on size, we get a little bit bigger. And so every time, like, we're continuously slapping on more muscle, pulling off more fat each time, which has been a lot of fun. But so kind of per your question, once you reverse diet and we get you up to really high calories like that, that's where you have a lot more freedom. Again, you still want to maintain these staple type of meals, at least in terms of, macro build outs with it. Like you have a good rough idea about this is a good breakfast with X amount of calories and macros, same thing with lunch and dinners and stuff like that. So then you get to a point where you can just kind of intuitively eat, which again is where I kind of want everybody to be, of being able to intuitively do that. But then what it comes down to is if you're starting to notice the scale go up or body composition, even if the scale hasn't changed a little bit, but maybe it looks like you're losing a little bit of muscle, gaining a little bit of fat with it. Maybe it's your training. Maybe you're not exercising as much as what you were. Maybe that's where the fall off is, or maybe you're just looser with it. Maybe you're eating a little bit more fat than what you actually think you are, or maybe you're eating a little bit more carbs than what you actually think you are. When we get to the end of your reverse diet, you're probably going to do the opposite though. Kind of like me. If I'm intuitively eating after I get to 4,000 calories, there's gonna be some days I only get to 3,500 calories. I just don't want to eat another meal, or I get behind on my meals that day. And so you kind of undereat. So then at that point, the best thing to do is if you're noticing those things, you just lock back in. You just lock back in with your macros whether that be where we left off at, or maybe you kind of go a little bit more moderate and just go, instead of 4,000 calories, you lock back in 3,500 calories. And then we look at, how your body adjusts to that, and then you can go from there. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. So basically, if it gets to that point, just like lock back in, and then I should see.
Just lock back in. And the good thing is you have the skill of knowing how to track your macros. You have the knowledge and the education of, this is the food I should be eating. And then you just lock right back into that. And then you can adjust based off of how your body's responding to that, and based off of what your goals are.
Okay, makes sense.
Definitely, brother. Definitely.
All right, man. This is my last meeting with you, man. I'm on my own now.
I'd be so sad to hear that, but I know that, at this point, I know that if I reached out to you 2 years from now and I would see your posts and stuff in between then and now, you're going to be maintaining all that stuff. You've solidified a lot of this stuff. I know you're in a new relationship, so just the key is to maintain what you've done and your focus kind of through all that. But yeah, good question though, Dex.
Hey, I'm curious. This is Denny again. Dexter, share with us your story real quick, if you don't mind. Like, what did you start at, and where did you kind of plateau or peak, and what did you end up as you're exiting?
Oh man, okay.
He's not exiting yet. We haven't actually hit that thought.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I was joking about that. I'll try to keep it quick. So I first started with Marcus in like 2019. Because I just wanted to get my body better. I'm not a very big dude. I wanted like more confidence, and I was always going to the gym. I've been an athlete, but I wasn't getting the results I wanted. I wasn't getting more weight, more muscle, wasn't getting stronger. So then I saw Marcus was doing his coaching thing, Thriving Lions Fitness, and then I joined him in 2019. And then I did it for a few months, but then I quit because I was getting stressed out. I was trying hard to be perfect, and like I felt like I wasn't, doing things right, and that I might as well just quit because I'm not doing everything right. And then I quit, and then next year during COVID, I decided to start back up again. I was working at home, so I think that made things a little bit easier. But I just came in with a different mindset. Marcus talked to me. He told me that like it's not about being perfect; it's about getting better. Each day, each week, each month. And I came in with that mindset, and then I did a lot better than before. I was patient, and then I really started seeing the results I wanted. So I've bulked up with him to gain some muscle, and then I've cut to get lean, look good for the summer, beach and all that. And then I've been maintaining recently and done the reverse dieting thing. So I've learned a lot from him. And
so give me a sample of weighing in when you first started, and what are you at now, and are you satisfied where you're at?
Yeah, when I first started, I was like maybe like low 140s. So not much muscle weight. And then
Dexter was also a long distance runner in high school, right, Dex? Yeah.
Yeah, and then college I did track and field, did like mid distance.
Yeah.
But so I started around like 140. When I bulked with Marcus, I got up to like 175. And then when I cut, I got down to like 155. And then now I've been maintaining like 160, 162.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Great. Congratulations. That's awesome.
And we just did a little mini cut. And when I say mini cut, I mean, he was probably at 400 grams of carbs there for a while. And really, more so for the insulin sensitivity side of things, because when you're eating that many grams of carbs that many days in a row and stuff like that, your blood, your BGs, your blood glucose goes up, your insulin sensitivity kind of starts fading away. And so we want to maintain that healthy side of things. That way he doesn't start packing on weight. Because once you become more insulin resistant and those numbers get a little bit higher, then it's much easier to gain body fat with that. So we do a little reset once he's been high carb like that, because he's been high carb for majority of this year, I think. So we did a little reset. He shed, I think, 3 or 4 pounds pretty quickly within just a couple weeks. And then now we're back up to kind of, getting back those calories again, and then we'll figure it out. Dexter's at a point where we could shred up a little bit more. If he had a really big goal in mind for that, if there's a photo shoot in mind, if there was a trip coming up or something, he just want to be more lean for. But otherwise, he can maintain, or he's at that point where we can turn and pivot and try to put on more size as we go into the fall and the winter time. So he's kind of at that sweet spot of we have choice with where he can go versus no, this is the only option.
No, thanks for the share. It's a great testament, and it kind of resonates everything that Marcus has been telling everybody as a group, right? The frustrations and trying to be perfect and the stresses. And it seems like you finally kind of bought into it and have stayed with it since 2019. Now you're the TLF poster child of how to do it. Thank you for the share. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Denny, thanks for the question. And yeah, Dexter, I appreciate you sharing.
How nice to be able to have to gain weight. What would that be like?
Yes, Dexter's one of like maybe 10 people within TLF where that's kind of the goal with it, for sure. But I mean, I think it's definitely the more consistent path that a lot of us are here trying to, correct some different things. Again, Lorraine, I don't know about you, but like I said, a lot of, especially when it comes to females, but men in general, it's just a matter of, when we get to our 40s and 45 and 50 years old and upwards from there, is that went through a lot of years
60
or 60. You always wanted to lose weight and be at a different size or different body composition, whatever the case is. And so again, you get stuck in that mindset and that constant struggle with where you're weighted and where you want to be, and then your food choices, but then you want to still live life. So you have those weekends, you have those trips where you have more and more food, and it's this teeter-totter. But the problem with that, though, is it's this teeter-totter, and it probably starts in our 20s. But then the older we get, the slower our metabolism get, our hormones get out of whack. We have kids, and then that teeter-totter continues to climbing up. So we're doing the same thing we were doing 20 years ago, but now we're in a slightly different body with different situation going on. And so that's how we see our weight gradually creep up over that course of that time. Or we have COVID and years like we've had the past couple of years, and you completely lose, you might have been going to the gym all the time and eating really healthy. Then you're forced to order out. You can't go to the grocery store because you don't want to get sick. You can't go to the gym because the gym just shut down. And then boom, we gain a lot of weight with that, or we get super sick, or whatever the case is. And that's been kind of part of your guys' journey as well over the past few years. But you're here now, and that's all that matters.
Yep.
Well, I will say one thing I think that's hard for me, just because as you and I talked, I know how, this is the hardest part. I know what to do, meaning I know what not to eat and what not, you know what I mean? But I'm just not disciplined enough to do it, sadly. And so what's hard for me, though, to reprogram myself, like, for instance, you have on my breakfast to have sourdough bread every day. Well, in our house, bread is the devil. Bread, pasta, those carbs, rice.
You did put that on your food preferences, right?
I'm sure she did.
I might have.
You did, because I've never put sourdough bread on somebody's diet plan. I was like, all right, I'm gonna toss this in. We're gonna see how it affects her, and then we'll go from there.
Really? Well, I will share with you though. So what I've done, I didn't know that that's why you did it, but I will tell you what I did, because I'm like, I don't want to eat a piece of bread every day. So because I can tell you, and as I've shared with you before, I eat more than Denny does. Right. So this has been a huge retraining for me.
Yeah.
Being, having to cut everything down significantly. Yeah. So what I did is I don't have the bread, but I do have half a cup of brown rice.
Yeah, that's perfect.
At dinner.
No, that's a perfect substitute, because now, and I don't care about the timing of the carb. That doesn't make a difference to me.
Okay.
But it's essentially it's apples to apples essentially at that point. You took about 20 grams of carbs, you added about 20 grams of carbs, boom. And now you that's exactly kind of the sustainability of tracking your macros. And even if you're not tracking your macros, just knowing this has 20 grams of carbs, what's something else that has 20 grams of carbs that I want to eat? You want rice, you want some grains with that food, with that dinner, you want some starches with some potatoes, go for it. You just want to make sure that it equates to about the same amount. That way we're ensuring consistency and things like that.
Okay, then we're doing the right thing, because we did
the
same thing with these protein balls that Denny makes, these Kodiak balls.
Yeah.
I compared it, all the areas I compared on what you gave us for snacks, and I'm like, we can have this.
That's perfect. I love that you guys are doing that. And again, that's going to create more sustainability for you guys, because you're not being so boxed into only eating X, Y, and Z. You're learning that flexibility of it. So the fact that you guys are a week and a half in and you're already kind of making that realization is definitely huge.
Awesome.
But yeah, appreciate it though. All right, friends. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the call for the night. and get going. Nicole's on her way home right now, so I'm going to go chat with her once she walks in the door. But I appreciate you guys being on here. Those of you that stayed and listened in the entire time, hopefully you got something out of this and have a better understanding about reverse diet, the purposes of it, when to do it, why to do it, all that good stuff. I don't know what's on the agenda for next week. I'll obviously post about it. Friends, if you joined a little bit late, I did make a fun announcement about something I have planned for it for the future in November 6th, I think. I want to do a TLF community lift party. So I'll share more and more details on this. But if you go back to the very beginning of the video for the first few minutes, I was talking about that on there though. So anywho, friends, I appreciate you guys being here and have a great Wednesday night. Check in tomorrow and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks, Marcus.
Thank you.
Of course. Appreciate you guys.
Good night.
You too.
Bye, Marcus. Thanks.
See y'all. Thanks for being here, Chris.